remember the first time you heard this? Back when we were kids and my mom would let me stay up late to watch cartoons. Well, I'll never forget the first time I heard this. It was right here in this very apartment, back when this was just an abandoned shell and I lived in the city. I remember I was alone in the apartment. My girlfriend had gone home because her parents were coming into town. And then I saw it. The words that have been stuck in my mind for the last 12 years. Public access. Override. The following is a mandatory message. My friends had all gone to bed, and I just had finished working on the most recent episode of Local 58. And when I turned it on, this came up on the screen. Oh God, I thought, they're really doing this again. This is why I never go on this channel. As I was cleaning up, I started to hear some static on the TV. Kind of like you would expect from an untuned radio. It was like I was hearing a foreign language and only understanding every 10th word. But there are a few things that I understood. I think the phrase that he used was knowledge depository. That was the last thing I heard before the screen cut to static. And then this image appeared. I might be off on that one, but I remember thinking that sounded quite strange. It was like I was staring directly at the sun, and when I looked away, I could still see the blinding light right in front of me. He spoke about people being unable to understand the true nature of reality, because this knowledge was kept from them. It was a tall, thin figure made of pure white light that was floating a few inches above the ground. The TV was displaying nothing but blue static. I sat there paralyzed by fear. I stared at the TV for a full minute until I could finally bring myself to look away. I was terrified that whoever was sending out this message would come for me. I spent the rest of the night hiding under my bed, listening closely for anything. And when I say this, I don't mean that it appeared on the screen. It just suddenly appeared. And I remember sitting there in complete terror, waiting for the image to disappear. Well, maybe they believed me, but they didn't think it was important. Either way, it didn't help me. It was like I was staring directly at the sun. And when I looked away, I could still see the blinding light right in front of me. Even when I was filming this video, I avoided looking at the screen when it was off. This was sent to me by a viewer named M. Yeah, that one was a bit unnecessary. She asked me to read it on my channel because she thought that my viewers would appreciate it. She told me that she wrote it herself based on her experiences watching a local access channel in her hometown. I'll take a look. You never know. Your story may end up on my channel. You'd be surprised by how often they show up in your vision. People called it the Colorado signal. It was an AM station that broadcast a disturbing message in Morse code. So I got out from under the bed and went about my day, pretending like nothing had happened. And although I couldn't make out any details because of the bright, I could tell that it was a tall, slender figure that seemed to be floating above the ground. Its arms were straight down at its sides, and its hands were either at its knees or slightly below. I don't remember which. It wasn't the arms themselves, but the position in which they were held that gave me the impression that it was floating. Was it because I work with this sort of stuff? Was it because I believe in the paranormal? Or was it just a coincidence that I tuned in at the exact moment they sent out their broadcast? Things like he spoke about the sun and the moon, and how these celestial objects were more than just rocks floating through through space. First, she removed some of the more graphic imagery. I'll admit, some of it was a bit much. And second, she added a bit of her own creativity to fill in some of the gaps. They were somehow responsible for a great deal of human activity in history. I was more concerned about getting out of the house and making sure that no one could see me, but I do remember what was said, and I haven't been able to shake it from my mind for the past 12 years. And then, right before I went to bed, I heard it. This is one of those sounds that you just can't get out of your head. There were a lot of things I didn't see, but there were some things that stood out, like seeing this map of the world and how one particular part was circled. The map itself was moving, but slowly, and then I started to hear this man's voice, and he started to speak. Even if you're trying to fall asleep, it will always stick around. And then I heard this. I looked over to the TV, and it was just a blue screen. As soon as I saw those words, I knew I shouldn't turn the TV on, but I did anyway. On this particular evening, I didn't bother to write down everything that I saw. I know it wasn't intended for me. Why else would they make it so difficult to decipher? Why use cryptic phrases and codes when speaking about these things? But there are some things that I will never forget. I do remember seeing this blurry map of the world, or perhaps North America. I was only able to catch certain parts of the sentences. I don't remember much of what he said. He also mentioned this place where knowledge was stored, a place where people who were in charge kept secrets from the general population. When I say that this image appeared, I don't mean that it popped up on the TV. It just suddenly appeared. And then he mentioned that the veil was thinning, whatever that means. But I want to make something clear. This being was made up of pure white light. Either way, there was no mistaking what this being was. As this image burned itself into my brain, I heard this voice say 3 words. Wake up, children. And then it disappeared. That was the last thing I heard before the screen cut to static. And then it was just gone. Even after looking away, I could still see the bright blue color filling my vision. When I finally regained control of my body, I quickly turned off the TV and locked the doors and windows. But as the morning approached, everything returned to normal. Of course, I told my friends about this experience, but none of them believed me. And since then, I haven't been able to understand why I was chosen. I love scary stories and anything related to broadcasting. So, this story hit close to home. To this day, I avoid watching local access channels. If you're thinking this sounds like a creepypasta, you're absolutely right. But I didn't write this one, and she was right. Although I should point out that M did make a few changes to the original story. She took out the part where the host talked about how he was tired of people asking him questions about these types of things, and how he is done with the conspiracy. So I contacted M and asked her where she got the story. So this story goes out to M. Thank you for sharing this story with me. I hope that my viewers enjoy it. And hey, if you have a creepypasta that you'd like for me to read, send it to the email below. Also, if you liked this video, be sure to check out another video that I did about a ghost signal that was picked up in Colorado. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.